So, Love Next Door is one of the hottest K-dramas airing right now. It centers a pair of childhood friends, Sung-gil, a nationally renowned architect, and Seo-gil, who seemingly abandons all of her hard-earned success and stability back in America to move back home to Korea. They both rediscover their love for each other after different circumstances forces them to move back into their old neighborhood, in close proximity with each other, living with their parents, much to the consternation of said parents who go so far as to enlist some spiritual help in putting back to rightness their children's lives. Love comes to them not singly but through confrontations and conflict with themselves and the identities they once held or believed as true. Anyways, it's just episode 5 that is the focus of this video, because in this episode, Sung-gil's ex-lover Jang Tae-hee also comes back to find Sung-gil. She is an Onggi master and she wants an architectural consultant to work with her on her latest large-scale production. She wants Sung-gil, but my curiosity was sparked by something else. What does an Onggi master do? What could such a profession entail? Matter of fact, what is Onggi? According to Wikipedia, Onggi is earthenware extensively used as tableware and storage containers in Korea. It includes unglazed earthenware and pottery with a dark brown glaze. Onggi have been continuously used from prehistoric Korean states to modern day. However, they primarily still used as traditional storage and ornaments today. Its history. Pottery has been used on the Korean peninsula since prehistoric times for food storage. Records indicate that they were used to store rice, liquor, oil, soy sauce, and salted fish. Onggi was also commonly used to preserve drinking water. According to Kyunguk, which I will explain in a bit, during the early Joseon period, there were 104 Onggi craftspeople called Onggijangs in 14 institutions, including Bogunsa. So Gyeongguk translates to National Code, which is a code of law that comprises all the laws, customs, and decrees released since the late Goryeo dynasty to the early Joseon dynasty. Ong refers to a clay jar, and Bogunsa is a Korean Buddhist temple located on Samsung-dong, Gangnam-gu in Seoul, South Korea. It was founded in 794 during the reign of King Won-sung by state preceptor Yeon-ho, who was the highest ranking monk of Shilla. Many records of Onggi are found in Sejong Shilok Jirji, which translates to King Sejong's treatise on geography. This includes further details on Korean pottery. Korea has long been known for its fermented food made in Onggi. A passage from the record of the Three Kingdoms reads, Goguryeo people have a custom of making fermented foods. The origin of Onggi dates to around 4000 to 5000 BC, and the types of earthenware include patternless, mummon, and a red and black variety. Patternless earthenware is made with lumps of clay and fine sand. Black-red earthenware is the predecessor of Goryeo celadon and Joseon white porcelain. These guys, it excludes any sand in its creation process. The earthenware's color is determined by both the iron content of the clay and the method used to fire it. The mummon kind of Onggi from the Mummon pottery archaeological era in Korean prehistory that dates approximately 1500 to 300 BC. This period is now named after the Korean name for undecorated or plain cooking and storage vessels that form a large part of the pottery assemblage over the entire period, but especially 850 to 550 BC. It's been labeled as Korean Bronze Age. FYI, Records of the Three Kingdoms is a Chinese official history written by Chen Shou in the late 3rd century CE. It covers the end of the Han Dynasty and the subsequent Three Kingdoms period. It is regarded as the authoritative source text for these periods. Uses of Onggi. Onggi has a more microporous structure than porcelain. This feature facilitates fermentation of food. Food commonly made in Onggi includes gochujang, doenjang, kimchi, and soy sauce. With proper porosity and permeability, Onggi can give an optimally ripe quality to fermented foods. As for fermented foods, the abundance of soybeans which grow naturally in Korea, fresh resources from the sea surrounding the Korean peninsula, and a proper climate for microbial development all play a significant factor in the importance and usage of fermentation for food processing. The development and refinement of Onggi ware contributed to the development of fermented dishes in Korean cuisine. Large Onggi ware were typically stored in a jangdokje. Jangdokje is an outside space, most frequently a terrace in Korea, where a series of jars are gathered. Like I mentioned, Onggi are made by a specialized group of workmen called Onggijangs. Now we go to the features of Onggi. Onggi designs are influenced by the characteristics and climate of the regions in which they are made. So shape, size, and manufacturing method of Onggi vary from region to region, but they share similarities which include porosity, biodegradability, resistance to rot, and firmness. Archaeologically, they are never found, as the shards eventually return to its former clay state or are used as grog. Grog is also known as fire sand. It is a raw material usually made from ground pot sherds. It is reintroduced into crude clay to temper it before making ceramic ware. And so I actually saw a practical demonstration of this here, where somebody broke down already existing clay tile from the roof and then added it to the fresh clay that they made. And when they were firing the pot they eventually made from this clay mix here, I saw that the kiln that they fired it in was really, how do you say this, was really rudimentary. Yeah, it wasn't a professional kiln that you could adjust temperatures, or you could adjust conditions, or you could take out and check, like the way modern kilns operate. So it makes sense that grog is an important part of making of the Onggi, in the sense that it helps to control the inconsistency of a rudimentarily made kiln, the heat fluctuations in a rudimentary kiln. Yeah, so that's just a little tidbit. Context of class and time periods. During the class-conscious Joseon times, pottery craftsmen were generally disdained by society at large and were treated as outcasts. Master craftsmen and the Catholic Church. The Catholic faith was introduced to the country in the late 18th century, and converts to this branch of Christianity were severely persecuted by the ruling dynasty. But the foundational Christian belief in equality was a comfort and solace to the potters who were already disdained by mainstream Joseon society. Therefore, many traditional master potters converted to the Catholic faith. Together with other converts, they formed Catholic communities in secluded regions to hide from government persecution. Earlier on in this period, there had been a gradual increase in population, which led to a broadening of uses for pottery. This in turn created a need for an increase in artisans skilled at making pottery, and this was how these hidden Catholic communities made a living. They adopted pottery as a craft. Even today, there are many Catholic descendants of late Joseon era, one of which is Kim Il-man. Kim Il-man is a master potter in Korea today. He produces pottery with his 4 sons and signs his work as Onggi. Master potter Kim Il-man produces pottery with his 4 sons. He signs his pottery works as Onggi. He almost quit the industry on numerous occasions, as running one's own pottery company can be trying at times. It was difficult for him to make ends meet, as at times there had been no demand for traditional ceramic wares. However, he endured the difficult times and is still working in the field of pottery production. It was his pride as a master potter that helped get through the tough times. In modern times, he feels much better as the popularity of traditional pottery has increased as the people have gotten richer. Also, since his designation as a holder of an intangible cultural heritage ability, the formal recognition by the Korean government has increased his standing in society. Traditionally, Catholic faith has been overrepresented in pottery cycles. During the 19th century, believers in Catholicism were severely persecuted by the ruling dynasty, and many converts became potters in an attempt to escape the persecution. Kim Il-man's parents were Catholic and were also potters. Following in his parents' footsteps, Kim himself started to learn the ceramic art when he was 15 years old. Nowadays, there is a ceramic tombstone at his parents' grave made by Kim himself. When the day comes to fire the unbaked pottery in the kiln, many of the workers who work alongside the master craftsmen are not present. So many potters rely on their extended family to get the work done on firing day. Kim Il-man's youngest son manages the kiln fire and his grandson looks on. His grandson could be on his way to becoming a master potter, as just like Kim's son, he has grown up watching the pottery process go on all around him. In 2010, Kim Il-man was designated as a holder of an important intangible cultural heritage ability. His sole desire these days is to see his sons carry on the tradition without him. He continually encourages his son to work hard and to carry on the knowledge and skills which he imparted to them throughout his life. Onggijangs YUN-SEOK was born on April 15, 1942 to his father Jung In-ok and his mother Heon-gang. His father did not make pottery, but he was a merchant who sold pottery. Due to difficult circumstances, he could not have advanced to middle school, but he did not want to give up his studies, so he decided to earn money and study on his own. He went up to Seoul alone and worked at a guest house for 2 months, but then came back down to Gangji-gun, his hometown, because he thought there was no future. The village of Bonghwang in Cheryangmyeon, Gangji-gun, where Jung YUN-SEOK was from, and where both his maternal and paternal families lived, was famous for pottery. After returning to his hometown, he saw pottery craftsmen receiving much higher wages than other jobs and decided to learn pottery making techniques. His maternal uncle Lee-dong-gun, who was working at a pottery shop, taught him where to start and the particular method to use. And so, learning pottery making from his maternal uncle, he started working at a pottery shop in Bonghwang village. In the early 1970s, he worked for 3 to 4 months at a pottery shop in Samso-dong, Gwangju, where the wages were higher than in Bonghwang village, before moving back to Bonghwang village to make pottery and farm clams. In Bonghwang village, ship owners bought pottery from pottery shops and sold it, and the pottery makers in Bonghwang village were paid according to the number of pottery they made. Around this period, the price of goods continued to rise, but the price of pottery did not change much, so the wages of pottery makers decreased relatively. Having difficulty making a living, this master potter decided to sell pottery himself. He started pottery in a village in Hejimyeon, Jangheung-gun, and sold the pottery directly to a nearby village with his wife. When he was 36 years old, he started running his own pottery shop. However, since making and selling pottery alone was not efficient, he started making pottery with another potter, Mr. Park Hyung-gun, and selling it together. Starting in the 1970s, the consumption of pottery gradually decreased and the pottery shops in Bonghwang village closed down one by one. By the end of the 1980s, only 2 pottery shops remained out of the more than 20 that had existed. And when the owner of one of those shops passed away in the spring of 1989, Mr. Jung YUN-SEOK became the sole potter running a pottery shop in the Bonghwang village. All of these tribulations and trial and difficult circumstances, the teacher wanted to end the path of pottery with his generation, but his youngest son, Jung Yeong-gyun, decided to become a potter after being discharged from the military. At first, he tried to dissuade him, but his son stated that it was even much more sad to watch pottery skills disappear or go into extinction in his own hometown, and so he eventually allowed his son's wishes because he was saddened himself by the disappearance of the pottery shops in Bungkwang village. On September 20th, 2004, Master Potter YUN-SEOK was recognized as a Jeonnam Intangible Cultural Heritage Potter, and in 2010 he was recognized as the holder of the National Intangible Cultural Heritage Pottery Skills. The tapestry of Onggi's history, woven originating from prehistoric era to modern day, is such a fascinating one to uncover. I mean, going from being a trodden upon craft, looked down upon by the upper class elitists for being too commonplace, and defined as a trade for poorer or lower class artisans. Despite being functional, environmentally friendly, and overall a versatile household item as far back as then, and then to existing in this modern era mainly due to the sheer determination and dedication to the craft by the Onggijangs, and currently being recognized by the government that once persecuted its craftspeople and given the title of human cultural properties, while the craftspeople are now recognized and decorated as intangible cultural heritage ability, is inspiring to say the least. It's also beautiful to see it used as a plot device in the unfolding of the lead female character's development. In this episode, Somi's character discovers her dream, and it's not lost on me that she came to this conclusion after spending the day immersed in her roots, elements of her heritage as a Korean. When Jang Tae proudly displays and talks about the scars her arm is littered with as evidence of her passionate emotions going after her dreams of being an Onggijangs, her nostalgic and wistful retelling of how she came to love this everyday household item, this commonplace once trodden upon craft that preceded her centuries past and dynasties ago. Somi's character expresses her joyful envy of all of it. Earlier in the day, Somi's character was happy, excitedly flitting amongst the grandmas, being genuinely curious as to how these fermented food items, which are a staple of the Korean cuisine as a whole, but in the face of their production, she makes it feel like a wonder, like this treasure she has just uncovered and must get to the root of. She must understand all of it. Jang Tae's and Bae Seok-yu's role in this cultural display of the Korean heritage and history to me breathe this energy of authenticity, which clearly Seok-yu had been searching for all this time. This entire episode ends with her finding the 100-year-old soy sauce in its Onggi and looking into its dark, opaque depths. She sees a clear reflection of herself and the beautifully moonlit night sky, kind of like she was seeing herself clearly for the first time in years. A self not clouded by parental expectations and the desperate desire to just survive. A self that was not obscured by the mask she had created and worn for so long just to fit in with the West, in this case the Americans. The topic of authenticity is my point in making this video. I have been missing something in my periodic enjoyment of K-dramas, and I could not quite put my finger on it, but this episode made it fall into place in my mind. Where is the Korea in K-dramas? For a long while now, it's been really depressing to see all of the niche qualities that came with the Hallyu wave be leached out from the industry just to be replaced with the excuse of Western appeal, globalization, which is still an appeal to Western audiences and probably advertisers. And this appeal is motivated, of course, by capitalism. Capitalism sucking out the color and culture that came with the art forms that built this industry. I remember how I knew about Jeju Island when Bujunpyo took Kunjan in a helicopter ride, and I was treated to the most amazing aerial view of an island in a country I didn't even know existed on the other side of the world. How's that for globalization? I was hooked. Watching Park Shin-hye act as a professional Gayagun player with a traditional Gayagun master for a grandpa in heartstrings opened my eyes to the wonders of the educational curriculum of Korea and how they play an active role in preserving their history. Heck, I even discovered what Gayagon was in the first place. I can't pinpoint when, but slowly Korea is being leached out from Korean dramas. Even the language is not as thorough in line delivery as before. What happened to puns? There is no nuance to their speech patterns, usually unique to native Koreans. Proverbs, dialects. Now it's delivered too simply and repetitively. Is it Netflix's criteria in accepting scripts and how they don't want to properly invest in thorough subtitle professionals? Maybe, I don't know, but it is not satisfying at all. Making characters speak English for a third of the series is not progressive. It is imperialism, softcore but still imperialism. Locations for dramas are sterilized. There is no mix of cultural landscape in the development of the stories and scripts. Everything starts from the script. Complex storylines with more than two subplots are now obsolete. It's always a race to see who ends up with who. Maybe that's why episode length and numbers are pretty shortened. Even historical dramas cannot find tangent to go on anymore, despite being a country with some of the most branched out convoluted histories. Who wrote Moon Embracing the Sun? Kang-chi, Empress Ki. That is why I took you first on this lengthy but fascinating history of Onggi, Korean poetry, to show you that culture will always add color and meaning to any story that is being told about a country or place. Sparking the curiosity of the enjoyers of the art forms is a valid reason for making said art forms or media. To me, Korea is more than Seoul and big cities. There are people with history, a most colorful yet complex one, and having them have this wide reach the world over with their entertainment, I feel like that part of them can and should be allowed to be displayed as well. This is not a call out that blames some other for this leeching out of Korea from K-dramas, even K-pop as well. No, this is a call to the Koreans behind the production. Don't fall for this Western appeal nonsense BS that monopolists in the country are profiting off of. No, keep writing your nuanced, albeit simplistically, but very much Korean stories and scripts, yeah? People will always stay for the authenticity after the noise of popularity and virality has faded off. So this is the end of the video, and I just want to say that this video is like a fraction of the depth of the fullness of the Onggi craft overall. Like Kim Hee-man's style of pottery employs the talk mode, while YUN-SEOK pottery is the slab mode. And this difference is just one of the uniqueness that defines Onggi by region, weather, and all. So I encourage you, if you are still curious, that there is still so much to learn and discover about Onggi and Onggijangs. This episode is also titled Go Back or Come Back, and we see it literally go back into the history of the country, into storytelling, history, style, into reconnection with personal and cultural history. It was a delight to bring this exposition together personally. I even realized that, hey, maybe I dig history, you know? Thanks for being here.